What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, I'll be taking a look at the interest for the 2025 All-Star race. We're going to first talk about the drivers who are trying to make it in from the All-Star Open, and then talk about the drivers who are already locked into the All-Star race. So anyways, let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We're going to start by talking about the forecourt for Front Row Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Noah Gragson. Noah Gragson's had some solid runs in 2025. I believe he's coming off finishing in the top 20 this past weekend at Kansas Speedway. And I think Noah Gragson from time to time has shown some decent speed in that Front Row Motorsports machine. He's looking to get it on the fan vote potentially because there's a lot of really fast cars in this race. He'll look to get it done and try to steal the win and get the win in the All-Star Open. Up next, I'll have the 7 car for Spire Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Justin Haley. Justin Haley is trying to make the All-Star race. He's had some decent speed. Of course, he lost his crew chief, Ronnie Childers, a couple weeks ago. But I do think the 7 car has been pretty solid at times throughout the year. He looks to make the All-Star race once again, have a good chance to get it done. We'll see if Haley can make it to the All-Star race in 2025 with Spire Motorsports. Up next, how about the 10 car for Kaulig Racing? This will once again be driven by Ty Dillon. After some really good runs with the team early in the year, I feel like this 10 team has cooled off a little bit. Ty Dillon has been decent at times, though, at short tracks, but I do think the Kaulig Racing equipment has kind of hindered this team just a little bit throughout the early portion of the year. He's looking to get in the All-Star race, try to get Kaulig Racing in both their cars, perhaps. He looks to get it done this weekend and make the show in this year's All-Star event. Up next, how about the 15 car for Rick Ware Racing? This will be driven by Cody Ware. This will be the first time Cody Ware has not been in the 51 car this year. Cody Ware has never made the All-Star race before. I'm not super confident he's going to be a major factor. I think the Rick Ware cars have generally not been fast this year, unfortunately. So I do think that Cody Ware will likely not make it to the show. Maybe he'll prove me wrong and make it, but I don't have high confidence on Cody Ware making the All-Star race this year. Up next, I have the 16 car for Kaulig Racing. This will once again be driven by AJ Allmendinger. Now, AJ Allmendinger actually raced in the All-Stars, I believe, in 2024, driving for Kaulig Racing. So, unlike last year, he has to qualify his way in. AJ's been solid at short tracks in recent years, but I will say the Kaulig equipment at these types of tracks, especially in the last couple years, has not been the most fantastic. So I think that's going to hurt AJ. And he's unfortunately not currently in the top 5 on the fan vote at this point. So he's going to need some help on that fan vote to get in. So I'm not confident in the Kaulig cars this weekend. Up next, I have the 23 car for 2311 Racing. This will once again be driven by Bubba Wallace. Now, Bubba Wallace has had some bad luck in recent weeks. He unfortunately got caught up in a crash thanks to his teammate Corey Heim at Kansas Speedway. Bubba, though, has had a lot more speed this year. I think the 23 team has been fast, and I think he's one of the favorites to get in from the All-Star Open, considering the fact that I do think that the 2311 cars have been solid here. Bubba did finish runner-up a couple years ago, and he's been pretty good at short tracks this year. He looks to make the All-Star race on speed, and maybe gets in on the fan vote as well. Up next, how about the 34 car for Front Row Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Todd Gillen. Now, Todd Gillen has had not the most speed out on the track, but he's been getting some pretty respectful finishes this year. And he could be a sleeper, considering the fact that Michael McDowell in the same car had a chance to make it in 2023 and nearly got in last year as well. I think Gillen could be a sleeper. I think he'll be one to watch out for in this event. I think the Front Row cars have been sneaky sleepy at some of these races. We'll see what he can do this weekend at North Wilkesboro. Up next, I'm at a 35 car for 2311 Racing. This will once again be driven by Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst has not had a lot of speed in 2025 so far. I'm not super confident in making it compared to his teammate. I just haven't seen much from Herbst. Maybe he'll do something and actually get in. I know he's been good at short tracks, especially in the Xfinity Series, but so far this year he's not been a major factor. I don't think he's going to be a major contender. I don't think he'll have a chance and opportunity, unfortunately, to make the All-Star race in 2025. Up next, I'm at a 38 car for Front Row Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Zane Smith. Now, Zane Smith had a pretty good run at Kansas Speedway where he finished inside the top 20. And Zane Smith has had some decent runs at tracks like this, for example. You look how well he was at Bristol. I think he had a top 10 run going in that event. I think Zane could be a sleeper to make it. He's unfortunately going to have to race his way in because he's not in the top 5 of the fan vote currently at the moment. So I think that's going to unfortunately cost him a shot unless he can get up front. We'll see if Zane can make the All-Star race this year. Up next, how about the 41 car for the Haas Factory team? This will once again be driven by Cole Custer. Cole Custer struggled in 2025. He has had no pace and no speed this year, and I think he's been one of the worst drivers throughout the season so far. And I don't have confidence he's going to make it in. He's not in the top 5 of the fan vote currently at the moment, so I think that's going to hurt his chance of making it. Maybe he can pull out something out of his, and have a chance to get in, but I don't think he'll be a factor to get into the All-Star race. Up next up with the 42 car for Legacy Motor Club. This one once again be driven by John Hunter Nemechek. I think Nemechek's been one of the more improved drivers so far this year. He's coming off having a top 10 run at Kansas Speedway, and he's had generally more speed this year than he did last year. He'll look to get in. I think the Legacy cars could be sneaky to watch out for to make it to the All-Star race. We'll see what John Hunter Nemechek can do, and we'll see if he can make the All-Star race this year in this weekend at North Wilkesboro. Up next up with the 43 car for Legacy Motor Club. This one's going to be driven by Eric Jones. Eric Jones had decent speed this year, but hasn't always had the results to show for it. But I think he did get a top 20. Well, he actually had a fortune crash out at Kansas. But I do think the 43 car's been a little quicker, like his teammate John Hunter Nemechek. He's looking for a really strong run this weekend, looking to make the All-Star race. He could be one to watch out for. We'll see what he can do this weekend and maybe get his way into the All-Star race in 2025. Up next, how about the 54 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This one once again be driven by Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs is the only Joe Gibbs Racing driver that is competing in the All-Star Open. But I do think he's one of the favorites in this event, considering Ty Gibbs historically has been really good in the All-Star Open. He has also been good at short tracks this year. He was really fast at Bristol track, kind of similar to this. I think it could help Ty Gibbs in a big way to get into the main event. He'll be one of the favorites to watch out for. I think he does have a good chance and opportunity to get into the All-Star race in 2025 and lock his way into the show this year. Up next up, the 60 car for RFK Racing. This will once again be driven by Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece has been very much overachieving in that car this year. He's been doing a really good job coming off having a top 10 at Kansas and is in the playoff conversation currently at the moment. Because of his short track background, I think he'll be one to watch out for to make it in. He might be one of the guys that finishes in the top 2, and he's also got a good chance to get in from the fan vote as well. He'll be a big factor. I think Ryan Preece will have a good chance and opportunity to win the All-Star Open and lock his way into the All-Star race in 2025. Up next up, the 66 car for the Garage 66 team. This will be driven by Chad Fincham for the second time this year. Realistically, this car, not going to be much of a factor, unfortunately, to make it in. I think Chad Fincham is a talented driver, but this car has been way off the pace. We've seen it with Chandler Smith. We saw it with Casey Mears earlier this year. I just don't have confidence this car is going to have any sort of speed. We'll see what it can do, see if they can bring some good qualifying stuff, but I don't expect Chad Fincham to be a major factor this weekend at North Wilkesboro. Up next, up the 71 car for Spire Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Michael McDowell. He may not always be getting the best finishes, but his qualifying speed has been really good this year. And I think that could really benefit McDowell, because I think it's going to be really tough to pass at this track. Of course, we have a different qualifying format this year, different in most weeks. I think McDowell could be a sleeper to get into the All-Star race. We'll see what he can do to see if McDowell can lock his way into the All-Star race like he did in 2022. Up next, up to 77 car for Spire Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Carson Hocevar. Carson Hocevar has had a lot of speed throughout 2025, but not a lot of results to show for it. I think because of how chaotic this race could be for the Open, I think that could play a role in Carson's chance of locking his way in. He's going to be one of the fastest cars in this event. He's been good at North Wilkesboro going back to his Truck Series days. We'll see if Carson can have his speed and can find a way to lock his way in. I think he could be one to watch out for. He's also, I think, in the top 5 of the fan vote currently at the moment, so he could get in from the fan vote as well. And finally, let's talk about the 88 car for Trackhouse Racing. This will once again be driven by Shane Van Gisbergen. Shane Van Gisbergen is probably going to be one of the slowest cars out on the racetrack, but because he has a chance, I think he might get in from the fan vote, because Shane Van Gisbergen has a lot of fans like myself. I think that's going to be the way he gets in. I think a lot of people are going to be voting for him to try to get that experience. He is coming off having a couple top 20s recently, which I think could benefit him in a big way. We'll see what it can do, and we'll see if Shane Van Gisbergen can lock his way in, maybe from the fan vote. If he does, I think he'll be able to make the show. So those are the cars that are competing in the All-Star Open. Now, let's move on and talk about the drivers who are competing in the 2025 All-Star race that are already locked in. Let's begin by talking about the one car for Trackhouse Racing. This will once again be driven by Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain has had some decent speed this year in 2025, and Ross has been solid at North Wilkesboro in the past. If the Trackhouse cars can show up, I think it could really help Ross have a chance to go for the victory. If they don't show up with the speed, though, I think it could affect Ross Chastain. He looks for a good run, had a little bit of a bad run at Kansas. We'll see what he can do this weekend at North Wilkesboro in the All-Star race in 2025. Up next, up with the 2 car for Team Penske. This will once again be driven by Austin Cindric. Now, Austin Cindric historically has not been the most fantastic driver at North Wilkesboro, but Penske's been a little bit quicker, especially on the intermediates, and they've always been pretty good at the short tracks as well. I think Cindric could be one to watch out for if he does have a car, because I think Cindric's shown some good pace and speed. The Penske car has been bringing it this year. We'll see if Austin Cindric can find a way to make the event. Well, he's already locked in, but we'll see if he can be a big factor for the win at the All-Star race. Up next, up with the 3 car for Richard Childress Racing. This will once again be driven by Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon, say what you want to say, he's been bringing a lot more speed in recent weeks. He had 3 top 10 finishes and a top 20 finish at Kansas, or a 22nd place finish. But I think Austin Dillon could be one to watch out for. A track like Richmond, very similar to North Wilkesboro. If they can find that speed like they had at Richmond, I think Dillon could be one to watch out for. They, of course, got Richard Boswell coming over from SHR last year. We'll see what he can do this weekend at North Wilkesboro. Up next, up with the 5 car for Hendrick Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson's coming off of having a dominating performance at Kansas Speedway and looks to win his 4th All-Star race. And Larson's always won the odd races. He won in 2019, 2021, and 2023. If history continues, he'll be the favorite to win the race in 2025. Now, he is competing in the Indy 500 this year, so that will be something to watch out for if he does make it, but the focus is to try to win the All-Star race. If he does get to the Fast 6, he will probably come over and run the All-Star race more than likely. Up next, up with the 6 car for RFK Racing. This will once again be driven by Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski has had an abysmal season for his standards. He has had the worst start to a season he's ever had in his career, with 0 top 10s and only 3 finishes inside the top 20, which is a shame considering he had a car capable of winning at Kansas Speedway. He'll be one to watch out for this weekend to see if he can actually have a good run, but I don't think he'll be a big factor. We'll see if Brad can turn the corner and have a great run this weekend at North Wilkesboro. Up next, up with the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing. This will once again be driven by Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch has had more speed in 2025, but we all remember last year what happened. He got into a fight with Ricky Stenhouse Jr., one of the most viral moments of last year. He's hoping this time around he doesn't get into a fight and can come out and maybe be on top and win his first All-Star race, I believe, since 2017, I'm pretty sure. He'll look to be a major factor. We'll see if Kyle Busch can get out there and be a contender for the win at North Wilkesboro. Up next, up with the 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott's been really fast at the short tracks this year, and also Chase Elliott was really fast at Kansas and had a car capable of winning, but the pit crew really hurt him having a chance to get that done. I think because of the short tracks, Elliott will be one of the favorites to win. He looks to pick up a second non-points paying win of the year after he won the Clash earlier this year. We'll see Chase Elliott can be that factor this weekend at North Wilkesboro. Up next, up with the 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This will once again be driven by Denny Hamlin. After a really strong start to the year, the last couple weeks have not gone good for Denny Hamlin, as he had 2 back-to-back DNF finishes. Hamlin, though, comes to a track like North Wilkesboro, a type of track where he's been really good at. He's one of the best short track racers in the field. He's going to be up front to be a contender. We'll see if Denny Hamlin can be a major factor for the win at North Wilkesboro. Up next, up with the 12th car for Team Penske. This will once again be driven by Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney's had a lot of good long run speed and has been pretty fast at the short tracks this year. He is still looking for that first points paying win of 2025, but he also did win the All-Star race 3 years ago at Texas Motor Speedway. So he comes in with a little bit of experience winning the All-Star race, which could help Ryan Blaney in a big way. We'll see if he can win the All-Star race in 2025. Up next, up the 17 car for RFK Racing. This will once again be driven by Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher's had consistent top 10 speed throughout the year, and I think he was pretty fast in the All-Star race last year as well. Buescher's still looking for his first win of the season. I think he'll have a really good chance and opportunity to do that. He's been one of the faster RFK cars throughout the year. We'll see if he can have a chance and opportunity. He'll look to get that first win in 2025, albeit it will be a non-points paying win, but I think it's very similar to a track like the Clash, where he was really good at earlier this year. Up next, up the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This will once again be driven by Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe has been pretty solid in recent weeks, coming off finishing in the top 5 this past weekend at Kansas Speedway. And he goes to a short track, a type of track where Chase Briscoe has always been really good at, going back to his days at Stewart-Haas Racing. I think he will be somewhat a factor to watch out for to potentially win with how good Joe Gibbs Racing has been. We'll see if Chase Briscoe could potentially pick up the win at the All-Star race. Up next, how about the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This one once again be driven by Christopher Bell. After having 3 wins early in the year, he hasn't won for quite some time, but Bell's been showing a lot of speed, and he's been really good with the short track package. I think he's going to be a factor. He was pretty good at the Clash earlier this year and was really fast at Martinsville, especially on the long run. I think he'll be a factor. I think that we will see Bell be a major contender. We'll see if he can have the chance and opportunity to get this first ever All-Star win this weekend at North Wilkesboro. Up next, how about the 21 car for the Wood Brothers? This once again be driven by Josh Berry. Josh Berry is coming off having a top 10 finish this past weekend at Kansas Speedway. And I think that 21 car has been one of the fastest cars on the long run this year. And we're going to type of track where Josh Berry's been good at, which is short tracks. I think he's one of the biggest threats to win. I think he's got a great chance and opportunity to win the All-Star race this year. I think he's going to be a major factor. I think the Wood Brothers have been a lot quicker. We'll see if he can get the victory this weekend at the All-Star race. Up next, I have the 22 car for Team Penske. This will once again be driven by Joey Logano. Now, Joey Logano comes in as a defending winner of the All-Star race from 2024 and also won Texas not too long ago. Logano's looking to pick up a victory at the All-Star race. He dominated this event in 2024. He looks to get it done. I think he'll have a good chance and opportunity with the speed that Penske cars have shown. We'll see if Logano can go out there and pick up the win this weekend at the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. Up next, how about the 24 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will once again be driven by William Byron. After running up front at Kansas, he unfortunately had a tire issue and never recovered. William Byron has been pretty good in North Wilkesboro in the past. He was really fast in this event in 2023, and I do think he'll be really good this year as well with the speed the Hendrick cars have shown on these types of tracks. He looks to pick up his first win technically since the Daytona 500, albeit it won't count, so this is not a points-paying event. He'll look to get it done, though. We'll see if William Byron can be a major factor and a strong contender for the win this weekend at North Wilkesboro. Up next, how about the 45 car for 2311 Racing? This will once again be driven by Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick has not had the most consistent speed early in the season, but Reddick was really good at the Clash earlier this year, and this track is very similar to Bowman Gray. So I think that Tyler Reddick could be a sleeper to go for the win, because 2311 cars especially have been really good at this track. We'll see if Tyler Reddick can show that speed. I think he will be good. We'll see what he can do this weekend at North Wilkesboro. Up next, how about the 47 car for Hayek Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gets in it for another year because it won at Talladega in 2024. Now, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I think, will be hoping to sign around to not get into a fight like he did with Kyle Busch last year. Stenhouse, though, has been a good short track racer. He was good at Bristol for many, many years. I think that can lead to Stenhouse having a strong run. We'll see what he can do, and we'll see if Ricky Stenhouse Jr. can be a factor for the win or a good run at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Up next, how about the 48 car for Hendrick Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman is once again coming off a really strong run this past weekend at Kansas, finishing inside the top 10. I think Bowman will be a sleeper for the win. I think the 48 team's been really good at short tracks. If not for that engine issue, he would have been up there with Larson at Bristol, and he was pretty solid at Martinsville as well before he had his tire issues there. I think he'll be someone to watch out for as he's had a lot of speed. We'll see what Alex Bowman can do for sure this weekend at North Wilkesboro. Up next, how about the 51 car for Rick Ware Racing? This will be driven by Harrison Burton. Now, Harrison Burton is in his first Cup race since going back down to Xfinity full-time, replacing Haley Deegan, because he won at Daytona last year to get into the playoffs. Harrison Burton, I don't think is going to be a major factor at all, but it's awesome to see Harrison Burton back in the NASCAR Cup Series for the first time this year. I think he actually will be someone who's been good at short tracks, but again, I just don't have confidence in the equipment. I think the equipment's going to hinder him, but I think it's a big deal to see that he is back in the NASCAR Cup Series this year. It might not be the only time we see him as well. And finally, let's talk about the 99 car for Trackhouse Racing. This will once again be driven by Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez is coming off of having a not great run at Kansas Speedway. And after some strong runs early in the year, this 99 team hasn't been fantastic. And the short track program for Trackhouse has not been that great this year so far. He'll look to have a good run in North Wilkesboro, get some redemption. He led laps in 2023 early in the event because he qualified very well from the heat races. I just don't have the most confidence in Suarez to be a factor. We'll see what he can do. He's in a big contract year with a lot of talk that Zilch might replace him in 2026. We'll see what he can do and see if Suarez can be a factor at North Wilkesboro. So, those are the interests for the 2025 All-Star Race and the Open. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. List description below that, and comment below your thoughts below on today's episode. Your thoughts about today's entry list video, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know your early pick to win the All-Star Race and who makes it in the Open as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Well, I don't think we're going to have any content dropping on the channel later today unless some major news breaks. We're going to be talking about Harrison Burton. We'll talk about Kyle Busch and the Indy 500. Some interesting stuff that came out about that earlier tonight. We're also going to talk about some of the other big news like the Prime stuff. Same with Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, all the good stuff. We're going to have content on people like Cletus McFarland, Haley Deegan, Shane Van Gisbergen, Cards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain. NASCAR and Fox, because this is the last NASCAR and Fox broadcast of 2025 for the Cup Series. And we're also going to have talk on people like, of course, Junior Motorsports, Frankie Muniz, Cletus McFarland, all the good stuff we'll be talking about on the channel in the coming days and weeks as we take it to the All-Star Race, and we've also got some Indy 500 stuff we're going to be talking about as well. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.